Hi, teenagers. Have you ever felt like you're being over and over underestimated by someone? It's like they think that you're too young or too small to make an impact. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and to the honorable judges. My name is Anggur Agastya, and I'm an ninth grader from Yogyakarta Montessori Middle School. Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on teenagers and climate change action at school. Ladies and gentlemen, school feels like an ordinary place where we study, laugh, complain about homework, and repeat the same routines every day without actually realizing that this place quietly shapes the future of our environment. In our school, there are small actions that we made that could create a carbon footprint. But what is a carbon footprint? Let me give you an analogy. Have you ever stepped into a newly mopped floor with your dirty and muddy foot? Although you don't really seem to tell anyone and no one seems to see your action, the dirty marks are still left there. This same thing also happened with carbon footprint. A carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases generated by our actions. It is expressed as carbon dioxide equivalent, measuring the impact of individuals, organizations, events, or products on climate change. Although we can't really see the carbon footprint, the traces are still left there. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about carbon footprint, it is really related to the climate change issue. Climate change is often seen as an adult issue. We, young teenagers, are usually considered too young to take the action to protect our Earth. People like to underestimate young students like us, whereas young teenagers like us are the ones who usually have many ideas and also so much more creativity. We need to realize that young teenagers also have the power to make a change. Let's take one example from Greta Thunberg, a young environmental activist. At the time, she was just a 15-year-old girl who initiated a global movement called Friday for Future. Friday for Future, or FFF, is a global youth led climate strike movement started by Greta Thunberg in 2018. The program began when she sat alone outside the Swedish parliament to demand a stronger climate action every Friday. She brought a handwritten poster, Skolstrejk for Klimatet, which means School Strike for Climate. The movement calls for immediate action to limit global warming. You know what? Her small action grew into a global movement involving millions of young people worldwide, including Indonesians. On Friday, students striked from schools to protest, urging politicians to listen to scientific consensus. She is the living example of how teenagers can create a great power. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about global warming or climate change, they often talk about the government's policies and international agreements. We believe those are really important, but real action doesn't always begin with it. Very often, change begins with small habits, a small step repeated every day by ordinary people like us. So, what can we actually do to make an impact? We can start with ourselves as teenagers and the school community. First, let me talk about teenagers. As teenagers, we really have more power than we think we have. Our decisions is a power to make a change. Let's start to make a change by our school environment by saving electricity, reducing waste, and etc. Turning off the lights and also the air conditioner before leaving the classrooms are also ways to save the electricity. Besides, we are practicing responsibility that helps us to build our character. Then, when we choose to bring our tumbler instead of using a non reusable bottle, we are not just reducing water, but also breaking a culture of choosing what is the easiest even when it harms the earth. The other way is reducing the unnecessary printing by moving on to digital notes in order to save papers and also protect trees. These solutions may seem small, but it's not an empty box. It's a habit that will have our character and it will shape the future. But individual awareness alone is not enough. We need a bigger power to make bigger results. This is where schools matter. School will play their role to be a system that will have and give multiple impacts. Schools can reduce paper-based assignments, create recycling and waste management. Schools can also encourage energy saving campaigns and also support students with environmental clubs. These policies will teach responsibility beyond textbooks, turn students' awareness into daily practices, and involve students in earth saving events. Some schools have already proven that this steps works to lower the carbon footprint. Green School Bali that it's known with its bamboo building. Malang 8 Senior High School with their solar charging point for renewable energy. Global Madani School with their green behavior, and lastly, my school, Yogyakarta Montessori Middle School that involves the students to go to waistband program every 2 months. Those schools reduce waste, save energy, and lower their carbon footprint. If they can do that, so can you. In conclusion, the future we will have depends on the choices we make today. Climate change is not a problem waiting for the next generation. It's a reality we are already facing. And our school is part of the problem. One student action may seem insignificant, but if we do this together, we can be part of the solution. Let's create new habits for a better future. That's all from me. I'm Anggur Nayra signing out. Thank you. Have a nice day.